Hi everybody, I'm Bethany and today we're making homemade DIY lotion. This is McJoy and welcome to Make With Me. So I'm making up this lotion today that I've been using for the last probably 8 to 9 months. And I really love it because it's super easy to make. It only has 3 ingredients and lotion is something I use every day. So it's not that store-bought lotions are bad in and of themselves, but I like knowing what exactly is in my lotion, what ingredients it has in it, and this lets me do that. So right now I'm sterilizing my jar. I'm not normally a super duper, like everything has to be clean and germ free and everything when I'm making stuff. But I have found for this specific project, it just gives me a lot of peace of mind to start with a clean jar because this is gonna be sitting unrefrigerated for hopefully at least the next month, if not longer than that. And you just don't want like little gross things growing in your lotion. That sounds nasty. So you want to start with a clean jar, and it doesn't take very long to just boil the jar for a couple of minutes before you get started. So I said this recipe only has 3 ingredients, and those ingredients are rose water, olive oil, and beeswax. You can also add essential oils, which I am going to do, but that is completely optional. So, like I said, ahead of time of actually making this recipe, I highly recommend you sterilize the jar you're going to put it in. And if you have beeswax that you bought like this, that I do, like a bar, shave it ahead of time into what you need. Because once things get going with this recipe, it's kind of time sensitive to get it all mixed up. And you don't want to be scrambling to try to do stuff and then realize your ingredients aren't ready yet. Oh, that's full hot steam. Can you come help me with something? How do I get this hot jar out of this bowl myself? You're such an engineering genius. Thanks for saving me. Alright, so I've got my jar all clean and ready to go. You might be wondering, lotion with oil and water, how does that work? Because oil and water don't normally mix. But this is why you need to include the beeswax, because wax acts as an emulsifier and it allows the oil and the water to blend to each other. So I'm going to teach you how to do this recipe in a series of ratios, because ultimately the measurement of how much you want to put in depends entirely on how much lotion you want to make. So the ratio is 1 part oil, 1 part water, and 1/5 parts beeswax. So I'm doing a cup of oil, a cup of water, and about 1/5 of a cup of beeswax. I would recommend the first time you make this, starting with a smaller amount, but you can still use that ratio. So you just use the same amount of rose water and oil, and then you use 1/5 of whatever that amount was to measure how much beeswax you need. As I said, I shaved my beeswax up into little shavings before I started when it came in this big block, because you're going to put the oil and the beeswax on some type of double boiler. I don't have an actual official double boiler, but I have made one here by putting a slightly smaller pan on top of a big pan. And you can also do this if you have a metal bowl that's completely metallic. You can set it on top of the pot because you want the steam from the water in the bottom to be what melts the oil and the wax together. So when you put the ingredients in the pan to begin with, you're going to have just oil with a bunch of chunks of wax sitting in them. But then as the mixture heats up, the wax is going to melt into the oil. And obviously, the smaller pieces of wax you have, the quicker they will melt. If you don't want to have to shave it up yourself, there's a lot of places where you can buy just little wax, like pebbles that are in a little baggie, and that takes care of the shaving work for you. I would also recommend that if you're going to shave it up yourself at home, having like a special knife to do that with. We have a special project knife at our house that's for chopping stuff up and crafting and making things that are not food. And that way our food knives stay clean and sharp and in good shape for our food, and our craft knives are what get kind of messy because wax, it just takes a while to get it off your knife, and it's kind of gunky and hard on your knife to be chopping through the wax. This is looking really good. My wax pebbles are melting into the oil really quickly, which I love. And now I'm going to measure out a cup of my rose water. This is rose water I got from a natural food store here, and I don't know, it seems to me it might be like a little bit sketchy. It's so pink and it's got like these floaties in it. No, we're just gonna take the plunge and trust them that this is good, legit stuff. All right, my wax has almost completely disappeared into the oil, which is awesome. The last time I did this, I had not pre-cut all of my wax, which led to me having some huge wax chunks in there, and that led to me not waiting for them to get completely melted before I started mixing. And so then the whole time I was using that batch of lotion, I was picking little chunks of wax off of it when I would put it on. Also, in order for this mixture to blend together well, you want the oil mixture and the water to be close to the same temperature. So I've seen it recommended that you actually also put the water on a double boiler to heat it up, but as you can see, I'm cooking a lot right now and I'm out of pans and burners on my stove. So what I'm gonna do instead is give my water mixture, my oil mixture, a couple of minutes to cool down. So it's not quite as piping hot. And while I'm doing that, I'm just putting my measuring cup over the smallest burner I have on my stove so that my rose water can get a little bit warmer. Okay, so I've got my rose water warmed up to about room temperature, and I've got my oil and wax mixture cooled down a little bit more than it was right when I took it off the stove. And now I'm going to add the rose water to the oil bit by bit while mixing it at a high speed. You obviously want to be really careful here, especially if the oil and wax you're dealing with are still hot. It could burn you. So don't be silly, be careful. So it came out right now, it's a lot more liquidy than normal, but also my bowl is, my little pan I had it in, is a little bit too small to be blending it on high. So I cleaned out this other bowl really fast. Yeah, and we're gonna get it in there to mix it. All right, so scents-wise, I'm not exactly sure what to do because normally I just use distilled water, but today because I used the rose water, it has a little bit of a rose smell already, but I think I bought this lemon oil not too long ago. And I think I'm going to make this lemon lavender scented. So I'm going to put in about 10 drops of my lavender essential oil. 11, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Let's do 12. So 12 drops of lavender essential oil and I don't know, a little sprinkle of this lemon stuff. All right, this is looking super awesome. It's really coming together really cohesively. So now before it gets really hard and chunky, I want to move it to my jar that I cleaned before I start. So you'll find up around the edges of your bowl, it's gotten a little bit more solid where it's had more time to cool. Overall, yeah, this mixture is still slightly above room temperature. So as it falls down to room temperature, it'll get a little bit thicker. As you can see right now, it's still pourable. Right. I'm really happy with the consistency of this. Normally, I think because I'm often too lazy to really work on heating up the water, I get a lot of water separation at the end and I have to just pour that off. But this time, the water seems to have integrated a lot better. And so it just gives the lotion a slightly creamier and more liquidy texture. And also means I'm not getting that water oil separation. The water's just integrated into the lotion, which makes me really happy. Alright, so there you go, a really fun, simple, homemade beauty project. It's still pretty warm, so it's a little bit soupy, but as it cools off, it will become much more solid. Mine is pink today because I made it with the rose water. That was red, so that gave the whole thing a kind of pinkish tint. If you make it without the rose water, but you're using olive oil, you'll probably have kind of a yellowish colored lotion from the oil and the beeswax. I love this lotion so much. It works super well, it moisturizes really well, it lasts for a long time because you just need a little bit to moisturize with, and also it's very versatile. If you don't have rose water, you can just use distilled water or water that you have boiled to make sure that there's no impurities in it. If you don't want to use olive oil, you can also use almond oil or coconut oil or really whatever oil you would want to try. And then the essential oils at the end, you can totally add what you want to or just ignore them entirely. So I highly recommend you try this. It's super fun. It takes a little bit of work to really get the hang of how the whole mixing process works. So like I said, start smaller with that 1:1/1/5 ratio. And then as you figure out the process, you can make as much or as little as you want. So thanks so much for joining me. Let me know in the comments what essential oils you would think would make it smell better, or if you try this out, let me know what oils you used and how it worked, and let me know if you have any questions about the process. If there's something that I left out or that didn't make sense, let me know in the comments and I can clarify it for you. If you want to see more videos like this where I make stuff or vlogs from my daily life living internationally in Azerbaijan, you can hit the subscribe button, and I have content up like every couple of weeks or a couple times a month. So excited to share with you more. Bye!